self-love. Well, you're not going to want to miss this episode because we're going to talk to an amazing author who not only found her voice again, but is going to talk to us about the journey of her self-discovery to self-love again. So here we go. Ladies, let's get Latin. Let's get loud. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to our spicy motivational show. Let's get Latin, ladies. I am your host, Abby, Miss Coach Abby. Today, we're going to talk all about toxic relationships and the craziness that happens in this world and in the world of relationships, right? But I'm super excited because our co-host, which you guys know is my amazing sister, she is also the author and who we're going to be interviewing with. And we're going to talk about this journey of this book. So let me introduce my amazing sister, Diana Quinones. Hey, how's it going?
How are you guys?
Doing good, doing good. So today's episode is basically all about you. We're going to talk.
It's about a lot of women.
A lot of women. It's about, so I want to kind of start with first talk to us, the name of your book. And then tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write your book and how it kind of connects with rediscovery.
Okay. The book is called Enemy of My Heart. You can find it on Amazon Prime. I wrote this book from personal experiences. Many of us have been in relationships that have either from the beginning or eventually turned toxic. And I felt like it was a story that needed to be written because there are many women who go through the same thing, and the journey of all the little things that it takes to make you actually lose your identity, the little things that chisel away at us bit by bit until we get to a point where we're like, I don't know who I am anymore. So it deep dives a lot about how the relationship started in the beginning. It kind of blindsides you and you think it's like the best relationship you've ever been in. And then you start to ignore the little red flags that creep up until you get to a point where you're like, how did we get here? And I've never been the person that would allow this. So how am I here?
Yeah.
So it dives into post relationship when you finally stood up for yourself and try to kind of reclaim your respect. And that kind of leaves a void of what your new identity is, because you're kind of left with this blank canvas of a person. And it goes into a lot of work that it takes to kind of figure who you are now.
Yes. Okay. I love a lot of what you said. Love it. So we're going to break it down a little bit. So the first part is the dedication. Okay. So when I was reading this, it really speaks to the wounded and broken self. So how did you channel your personal experience when you were writing this book?
So I remember how wounded I felt in the beginning, kind of like in despair. I felt like ashamed, a lot of the sense of shame of, you hear so many women, about being empowered and like how I would never tolerate. And, so I felt a lot of shame of that's who I used to be. So how did I allow myself to get into this position in this place? And I feel like it's something that a lot of women don't speak on, because we all want to show the front of how powerful and how strong and independent we are. But we don't want to talk about the things that we have to deal with in our personal life, in the quiet places, and when our peace is being disturbed.
Yep.
So I felt like a lot of women would relate to a lot of women to be able to not be ashamed and be able to take steps forward to really empower themselves.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to put a little, we're going to talk about a little bit of this with being a Latina. Okay. So as a Latina, we have very strong personalities, and our presence with all humans when we come into a space is very strong. Like, you are not going to get one on me. I will be the one that has the biggest attitude. Yes, you will not be that person that gets anything, right? Like, we come into a space. However, that being said, just as any other woman has, we have insecurities in
Mhm.
ourselves, right? And we, unfortunately, just like any other woman in any culture, I don't care who you are, we still allow ourselves to be manipulated, to be in toxic relationships because we believe that we're in love, or we believe that we are stuck in this relationship. There's no other options for us or any choices for us. So, can you speak a little bit about, even though, I mean, I know you, you're my sister, I love you, and you're a very strong woman, grounded, and yet you went through some of these experiences. Like, I know that this book that you wrote has a lot to do with the experiences of the relationships that you've had in your past. So,
Yep.
how did you, being that strong Latina woman, right, find yourself? What were some of the things and clues that you found now, right? You can look back now that you found yourself being like, oh my gosh, hey, red flag.
So I think as women, some of us sometimes feel like we have no other choices, but a lot of times we know we have options, but we're like, no, but this is the option that I want. So
Mm,
I'm gonna, as I think as women, but especially Latinas, we fight really hard, and we fight really hard. So we stay because we're like, if we work hard enough, then it will work out. It won't be like I invested all this time, all this energy for nothing. Because for a lot of women, it's all about the investment.
yeah,
So I feel like women tend to stay so much longer because of that. It's like I've invested so much time. What am I going to get at the, I don't want to invest all this and somebody else is going to get all my hard work.
right. Yeah,
Um,
I like that.
but it's really just the truth of it.
Mm,
But for me, the red flags, I think we see them subtly very much in the beginning, but the kind of love that we feel for people when we truly love them makes us kind of like cover over them. Like, I'm not perfect either. I have my flaws, I have my things to work on, yada yada. So, like you kind of overlook and forgive those things. You're like, as long as he's working on them. But in a relationship is a partnership, and if only one person is working and the other one isn't, well, the ship's going to sink.
yeah.
So um it wasn't so much that you don't see the red flags in the beginning, it was so much that you allow them to pile up to
Mm,
the point where you've kind of accepted, well, this is just who this person is,
yeah.
and now you've taken a step back on your standard and your morals and the things that you once stood on.
And I hear you, and I feel like, to add to that component, when you have children, because I feel like almost all cultures, but I will speak specifically about Latina, the Latin culture, we're
Hmm.
so family oriented, right?
Very
We're
much.
so like, it's about our family, and like we have to have a mom and dad and the kids and like all of that, right? And I feel like as women tend to stay in a situation even longer
Yep.
with all the red flags that we see, whether we choose to ignore them or not. We know that they're there. They're like the little button, going off in our head, in our heart.
Yep.
We stay longer because we want our children to experience things maybe we didn't have the full family experience, right? Or we had a great family experience, or maybe it was bad, but hey, I still want my children to have the mom, the dad, and the whole family experience. And we tend to stay longer
I
because of,
think there's a very big stigma on a broken home.
yeah.
Um, a lot of people are like, children should grow up with two parents, and they should. But I also think that if it's an unhealthy, toxic relationship, you're doing your children a very big disservice,
Mm,
um, staying together, because children will do one of two things when seeing a toxic relationship within the family dynamic of a mom and father. They're either going to be like, I know that's what I don't want, because I see mom or dad suffering. I see what's really, because kids are really smart. They see what's going on. for what
Yeah.
it really is. No matter how much you try to manipulate situation, they know what's really going on. They're very, very savvy. Or the opposite will happen, and they will emulate what they're,
Yeah, the example
what they're
there.
seeing. So they're
Yeah.
either going to end up in a relationship that's just as toxic or worse because it's become their norm,
Yeah.
or they're going to be like, this is exactly what I don't want. So I think the stigma of a broken home, it has to really depend on the situation. But if people are not doing their part, then both people aren't doing their part. And I think you're doing your children a greater service by removing that situation so they can have a healthy relationship with parents separately.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. So freaking true. So then let me ask you. So the book talks about it discusses the shifting dynamics in relationships. Okay. So you talk about different shift that relationship. Can you share a little bit more about navigating the changes and finding your own worth again? So you've gone through this toxicity, right?
Yes.
So it talks about like how did you shift that and finding your worth? What was the journey in starting that?
That's a very challenging part to actually go through, especially if you're a mother, because if you read the book, it talks about how we're pulled in so many different directions, and we have to kind of contort ourselves to many different roles. You have to be a parent, you have to be a confidant, you have to be a chef, you have to be a maid, you have to be a counselor. So it leaves very little time for you to work on yourself. You have a very small window unless you make time. And as mothers, we tend to be very self-sacrificing. So you
Absolutely.
really have to carve time out to put yourself in the mental capacity for growth.
Yeah.
The things that I had to go through was acceptance, for once, to accept and give myself a short time to grieve what I've lost. I wrote a tidbit not that long ago for another book that I'm writing that's saying I had to grieve a person I never really knew, because I was grieving for somebody who I was hoping to have in my life one day, but that person really was never there. So it was an illusion that never really existed. But that's kind of the grief that you have to process through. And then once you've given yourself a small time to grieve, because we can't stay in that stage, you grieve, you have to kind of put on a persona of, okay, well, that was then, this is me now. Who do I want to be?
Yeah.
I'm never going to be the person that I once was because life experiences have changed us.
Yeah.
But take some of that savviness that you once had and bring her back and kind of shine her up, but add the knowledge that you've learned from the lessons that you've had to be through, and know that I went through this and I know what I don't want anymore. I know what I won't tolerate. But allow yourself the time to enjoy your peace. That, I think peace is very important. It's very key, because in a toxic relationship, you don't even have that in your home.
Yeah.
So having that peace is very key, because it gives you time to think. And I feel like when there's turmoil in the household, you don't have the clarity because there's so much going on. You don't
Yeah.
have the time to really have the clarity to think properly in a
Yeah.
quiet space.
I agree with you. And here's just something that I've experienced in my life is when you have to run away from home and be like, I want to be everywhere else except at home.
Yeah.
Problems. There's something, and that's a red flag, y'all. Ladies, okay, mujeres, como estamos
Mhm.
hablando contigo ahora, we're talking to you, is don't ignore the flag of, I don't want to go home. I've been a part of, I don't want to hang out with that person because I know what's going to happen next. Like
Right.
it's going to turn into, if I hang out with them too much, it's just going to turn into a fight or an
Right.
argument, right? And that's a flag, y'all. That's a flag, right? I don't want to go home. I want to stay away as long as I can until it's the ultimate time that, the bare minimum, without it becoming a flag or like tons of questions or an argument, a suing up. Then I'll come home. So like we have to see the flags for what they are. But let me ask you, ladies, we gotta see it, we gotta own it. Once you see them, what was your
Sorry.
That's all right. We're gonna do a little dance right now while you guys clearly didn't know we were recording a show today.
Aviana is on my phone and it's linked to my.
That's her youngest daughter, y'all. I'm gonna kill her later.
Apologies. Someone's getting beat. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, this wouldn't be live if we didn't have stuff like this happening, okay?
Yeesh.
Real
Sorry.
life, ladies, okay? Because this is what happens in real life. Literally,
See, you're always a mom.
if you're watching this show right now, you've probably had to pause it several times because your kids or your husband have interrupted you.
Exactly.
Times. Just FYI. Okay. So let's see. Let me go back. All right. So we recognize the toxicity. We recognize that there's an issue. There's a problem, right? Once we recognized it, what was, and obviously you got to a point where you recognized the toxicity, things that were happening in relationships. What was the thing that helped you finally make that shift in saying, okay, enough is enough. I need to start healing me, or I need to take action?
So two things. One of them was my children, but not just my children. I looked at my children. I had asked myself, like, is this what I envisioned for myself if I was speaking to my younger self? Is this what I would have wanted? So you kind of have to talk to yourself as if it's you talking to yourself in the past as a child, and you kind of always want to give yourself that's where you learn your self-love. It's connecting with your child self, because at one point our childhood is robbed from us, and you really have to connect with that part of yourself and be like, it's going to be okay, we're going to be fine, and I have to do better for you because this is not what you envisioned for your life. So that's kind of the things that really pushed me. And I have daughters, so it was a lot of, I didn't want to teach my girls that this was an okay thing. I wanted them to, I can't preach to my kids to wait out for a man who treats you right and is good to you if they see at home that I'm not even like honoring my own self-worth. Right. How can I teach self-respect in my children and strength if I'm not exemplifying it at home?
Right.
So that was a big motivational tool for me to be like, no mas, like we're done with this. We're not tolerating this anymore. So that's out with the old and with the new. Now we're going to get back to who I want to become.
I love that. And I'm going to just talk to the ladies, mujeres. I'm going to stop right here and just say, yes, like we are raising the next generation of women, okay, with our daughters, our baby girls, our mama sistas. And it's so important that we look at ourselves and say, because children do learn by example. I don't care what you say. I don't care what anybody says. They look at their mom, they look at their dad, they look at relationships, whether you're in a marriage, relationship, whatever, right? They look and they say, oh, that's what that should be. Whether it's bad, good, or ugly, right? They look at that and they say, and then that's what they're going to believe. Mike, I laugh because all my kids, they're like, oh, red flags. There's some things I don't ever want to do with that mom does, right? Or that they have, or hey, here's some great things that mom does or that they do in the relationship. And I want to emulate that. So ladies, like if we're in a toxic relationship, we're in a bad relationship, we have to have the strength to recognize it. Once you recognize it, acknowledge the fact that something has to change, not only for yourself and your self-worth, but also for your children, especially if you have daughters. Not even just, and I want to say even for your sons, because your sons are going to look at that and do one of two things. They're either going to not want to be like their father or that man in their life, or they're going to emulate that man and then now be a horrible person for another woman.
Yes. And I want to interject for a second. I just want to say this doesn't even just apply to a toxic relationship, marriage-wise or partnership-wise. It could be a friendship. It could be family. Like there are so much toxic family members. My ex had a very toxic family. Um, but even in friendships, like you have to learn to identify toxicity for what it is, regardless of its status.
I agree. Well, I'm gonna pause you for a second because I have some friends where I'm like, I love you, but I can't hang out with you for too long. Like we're friends, but we're friends.
Right. Sometimes you have to.
Yeah, because you recognize like you're just a little bit too negative for me, or you're just like a little too much, or that's not the vibe that I want to have in my life. And I'm like,
Yes.
in my 40s, I'm like far beyond that. Like, grow up. And it's time for me. Like, I love you. I'll be here for you if you need me, but we probably won't associate for too much and too often. Right. Anyway. Yeah, no, I love it. I love what we're talking about. I think this is so important for women in general, just to be like, look at not only relationships, all relationships, right? With our children, with adults, with our human, loves of our life, for the relationship that we're in, whatever it is. It's super important that we look at that. So let's flip it now. So you talk about that. So recognizing that toxicity, recognizing the things that are the flags, the red flags. You said two things that shifted was your children. What was the second thing that you recognized that you did to kind of shift that narrative for yourself?
The addressing myself when I was younger was the other one, but yes, just kind of deep diving into self-love. I think we're so busy pouring into other people that we fail to remember to pour into ourselves.
Yeah.
And that was a key thing. What would I do for my daughter if she was heartbroken? Why am I not doing that for myself?
Yes, I love that. And
That's
as
very important.
Yeah, and I feel like, all moms are, I think what they call us mama bears for a reason, right? But Latinas get a little bit crazy when people start messing with our kids. I'm like, "Whoa." As a matter of fact, it's funny. I'm going to tell you a quick story. So I had, we went to a party.
Yeah.
One of my daughters bought gifts for this person. And this person was just like, oh, I don't know. They got into a little tiff for whatever reason and gave the gift back. And I was like, excuse me.
Did you see my face?
Wait, how you gonna? And so I could tell my daughter was upset, and my heart broke for her. And I was just like, okay. I didn't say nothing. I was just like, how come that person did that? I don't know. Whatever was the answer. I was like, okay, not a problem. Mama Bear's gonna be coming out in a second.
Right.
So I do. Hey, I don't know what your deal is, but it is disrespectful. And I don't think that the people that are raising you would want you to be a disrespectful person. And then comes back an answer of, oh, well, she was disrespectful, whatever. I was like, hold up. Let's talk for a second, friend. You speak the same way, in the same tone, in the same language to her that she spoke back to you. So don't be a hypocrite.
Right.
Like, that's how mama bears do. I don't know about y'all, but that's what we do. That's what I do. Because I was like,
I can get like that with my kids until I had to learn that they need to navigate their own lives. So I will give advice if you need it, and trust me, I give my advice, but I let them navigate it because I feel like if I don't, I'm kind of like, for me and my kids, I tend to be like, I want to fix everything. Like, and I know when my kid's right and I know when my kid's wrong. And I'm big on, I stand on, no, you were wrong. You need to go fix that. And I'm big on, no, you don't need to apologize because you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
But I the mother bear is very much, I think all cultural thing, but especially minorities, we tend to be big about protecting what's ours.
Well, and I agree with you, because I am very big on, okay, what's the situation? Let's talk about it. Like with my girls, let's talk about it. How could you have handled that better? How do you feel you handled that, right? So I'm very big about talking about it. You handle this. In this situation, this person, in my opinion, is just slightly a little bit off. It was just very hypocritical, and I knew she wasn't going to address it. And I was like, oh no, this person needs to know you're a hypocrite right now, right? Like, it's just hands down. I don't care how old you are. I'm gonna let you know, and you need to fix that if you want to continue to have a friendship with my kid. Otherwise, you're gonna be on the bottom of my shoe in a minute. All right, I don't advocate violence all the time. Just,
I used to.
like, just a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. That's the alcohol talking, ladies. All right, I'm kidding, but I'm only saying what we're all thinking. Okay, let's be real.
None of us are perfect. That's why every part of it is a growth.
It's growth, right? Yeah. So
Yep.
it's things we recognize, whatever. Anyway, I digressed into that scenario, but to say that it is in all types of relationships, right?
Yeah.
It's not just marriages, boyfriend, girlfriend.
No, yeah.
Kind of, it's our children, it's their friendships, it's all of it. Our friendships, it's all of it. All of it. We need to
I
look at
think as we age, we get tired of the games.
it.
And as we navigate through life, we've learned a lot of lessons along the way. And we learn to like pick and choose what we want to come and go. So I think that's vital. And I believe in any relationship, whether it's a friendship or a relationship partnership, that if you're not growing with me, then I kind of have to leave you where you're at because I'm trying to move forward and we're either going to grow together or I have to kind of navigate without you in my life. And not in a malice kind of a way either.
No. So let me ask you a question. I know we've gone a little bit longer, ladies, on this episode than we normally would, but this is an amazing topic, amazing book. And I'm going to tell you right now, not only because she's my sister, should you go out and get this book, but if you've ever been in a relationship where you're just not sure, and this book is going to absolutely speak to you. Here we go. This book is going to absolutely speak to you. If you've ever been in these types of relationships, or maybe you're in one right now, maybe it'll give you the courage and the strength to move forward, to recognize and do what you got to do, right? But that being said, what would you, so who would you say is the best person to try to purchase this book? And then what do you believe that will help them do?
I repeat, who is the best person to purchase this book?
Yeah.
Like the best candidate. And what was the second question?
And then what do you think it'll do for them?
Okay. So the best candidate is anybody, whether you were in a marital partnership or any kind of toxic relationship. It doesn't matter the frame of what that relationship was. Even if it was somebody you were just seeing and you had an attachment to, that they know they can kind of pull you back and forth and you have kind of surrendered yourself to this. I'm really sorry about that. Have surrendered yourself to this
Ladies, this is our Latin face of I'm done.
Someone gonna get hurt right now.
Does she not know we're recording?
Turn off my phone. So again, apologies. Anybody who has Abby, I'm gonna
Ready?
So to answer the second question as to what you'll get out of it, I think you'll get clarity. So I didn't want to leave the book on just, the lows of what we all go through when we're going through a toxic relationship and the aftermath of it. But there's a journal in the back of it that goes into like a workbook that gives you steps. Because a lot of times we don't know where to start. So it kind of gives you a cheat sheet on what to do next, what helped, what, worked for me. So I broke it into 4 parts and it's called the 4 keys. And it's physical, financial, spiritual, and
we'll leave the last one for you. Got to go buy the book. Though.
I'm having a brain fart right now.
It's okay. You gotta go buy the book. I'm gonna put the link.
But it breaks down. So if we could only focus on ourselves realistically, that would be great. But we live in the real world. We still have to make money. So there's a lot of saving tools on how to help curb our retail therapy. We like to retail therapy for a quick fix to feel better, and how that me too. But how that really kind of hinders us in the long run. getting moving, like get out of that bed that you don't want to get out of because you're so low and depressed, and start somewhere small, or go connect with a friend that
Yeah.
usually will encourage you, the friend that's positive in your life, or a family member, like, you can make me laugh any day of the week, something that's going to get you out of that funk, so to speak.
Yeah.
um and then also setting goals, big thing, like what do you want for your life? Like, start
Yeah.
small. It doesn't have to be some big, huge, end of the year goal. Like, okay, what do I want for this week? I want to be able to take myself out on a date. There's self-love exercises in there.
I
You
love
know,
that.
how about giving ourselves the love that we've been trying to give to somebody else? Feed that to ourselves for once.
Yes, I'm gonna pause
Um,
you for a second. I just have to say this. It's okay to go to the movies by yourself. It is okay to go to a restaurant by yourself. I had learned that a long time ago when I was going through my divorce and my ex-husband had my kids, my two oldest kids, and I was by myself, that I was like, I either let myself drown in depression being at home, or I still live my life and I go do the things that I love to do and learn how to love me and be okay with me and go do it by myself. So I just want to I want to squash that stigma of, oh, I'm going to be a loser if I go do it. No, you're learning how to love yourself and be okay with yourself by yourself. Okay,
yes,
ladies. So it is totally okay to go do all of those things by yourself. All right, you don't want to go sit at a booth by yourself, go sit at the bar by yourself and have dinner.
right,
Okay. So I just had to put that little disclaimer in there because sometimes we do have that stigma of, I'm gonna look like a loser, I'm gonna look stupid. No, I look empowered and I am totally okay with being me. And if you want to be in my circle, I'm gonna either okay it or nay it. Okay.
right.
And so anyway, sorry, go.
No, it's okay. To add on that, a lot of that is, a lot of us are so afraid to be alone that it makes us feel lonely, that
Mhm.
we allow people to sit in our space who aren't deserving of it. So
Amen.
you have to learn to really be okay with sitting in the quiet of yourself,
Yeah.
because this whole growth journey is about self. The journey is about you,
Yeah.
not about somebody else, not about filling the quiet, not about filling the void. It's about really, really allowing yourself to have the space and take up the space to heal and to
That's
grow. And you
that's
can't do that without yourself alone. It's not a couple's journey. And even if your couple were to survive, the
mm,
aftermath of the toxicity, and you were made the choice to heal together, you still can't do that without doing your part and focusing on yourself. You have
absolutely.
to focus on your own growth and your own healing.
I love
Um,
it.
Other than that, so you're going to learn how to recognize yourself. You're going to learn how to find and discover new things about yourself. And you're going to find a renewed strength that you didn't realize was still really in there, just kind of raging to get out.
Yeah.
But most importantly, I think that last tidbit that's the most important is you're going to really reclaim your power, and you're really going to find your peace. And once you found your peace, you will find yourself very judgy on who's in your life, because you do not let anybody disrupt that again.
Oh, I love that. I love that. All right, ladies, we're not going to talk about it anymore. Just go buy the book. Diana, oh, hold it up again. It's called Enemy of My Heart. My sister, my amazing sister, Diana Quinones, is the author. Go find it on Amazon. In the description below, you will see the link. I'm going to put it on there. Listen, ladies, this is so important. Remember, you are not defined by toxicity, toxic relationships, by betrayal, by the things that other people do to you, okay? Or what you allow, because sometimes we are the ones that allow these
Yes.
things to happen. You're not defined by this, but by how you choose to rise from it, recognize it, acknowledge it, and then take action and do something about the relationships, the unhappiness that you have in your life that you don't want anymore. Get rid of it. And it doesn't mean like tomorrow, bye. It might take a long process. I know it was a long process for my sister.
Mhm.
So take your time. Your power is not lost. Okay. It's waiting for you to reclaim it, to find it again, and to feel empowered. So stand tall, embrace your strength, and let the world witness the amazing reina, queen that you are and that you're coming back from. So I hope this episode today was enlightening. I know we went a little longer than we normally do, but I felt this was such an important topic to discuss because as women, we are all in all different types of places in our life and relationships in our life. But if you find yourself in one like this, you need to get that book. Or someone that you love needs that book, go get it on Amazon right now. Okay, so if you love what you're hearing today, if you want to find your voice, if you want to reclaim the strength and the power of who you are, that is what this show is all about. Do not miss an episode. We're going to see you again next week. So, ladies, let's get loud. Let's get loud. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.